When's the last time you looked in the mirror and really asked yourself, am I living the life I truly want? Not the life that people expect from you. Not the version that checks all the boxes society hands you. I mean the life that actually feels right in your soul. Carl Jung. Yeah, that Jung left us with a lesson most of us don't dare to follow. Choose yourself. Especially when everything around you tells you not to. We live in a world designed on purpose to distract us. It keeps us stuck in routines, locked into expectations, drowning in obligations. From the moment you wake up, you're hit with demands. Work deadlines, family pressures, the need to fit into social norms. You're told how to act, what goals to chase, and what success is supposed to look like. But here's something most people don't realize. Every time you put someone else's needs ahead of your own, without checking in with yourself, you're sending a quiet message to your inner world. You're telling yourself, hey, you don't matter as much. Your dreams, your needs, your truth, they take a back seat. That little voice deep inside, that's not just noise. That's your soul talking. It's trying to guide you, but we often silence it. Jung believes that connecting with our unconscious isn't optional, it's essential. Still, most of us push it aside, pretend it doesn't exist because listening to it can be uncomfortable. That nagging discomfort you feel, that uneasiness when something in your life feels off, is not random. That's your soul tapping you on the shoulder. It's trying to wake you up. But change, real change, can be terrifying. So let's pause here. Think back. How many of your recent decisions came from a place of authenticity? And how many were driven by fear? Fear of disappointing others, fear of standing out, fear of shaking things up, or just fear of letting go of what feels safe. Jung understood this better than anyone. When your decisions don't come from your truth, what you end up with is disconnection, chaos, confusion. The farther you drift from who you really are, the more lost you feel. But here's the thing. Choosing yourself doesn't mean cutting everyone off. It's not about becoming selfish. It's about knowing that in order to give the best of yourself to the world, you've got to be in alignment with yourself first. That's the root of self-love. And let's be clear. Self-love isn't some luxury or excuse to run from responsibility. It's the foundation of every real, meaningful connection in your life. When you start prioritizing your own well-being, your energy shifts. You begin to attract people, opportunities, and situations that match who you actually are, not the version of you that's constantly people-pleasing. It's like the universe clears the clutter and starts bringing in exactly what you need. But getting there, it means facing your shadows. Jung called the shadow the hidden parts of ourselves, the things we suppress, the stuff we don't want to look at. And yeah, it's uncomfortable, but it's in facing that shadow that transformation happens. When you stop running from those parts of yourself and instead learn to accept them, something powerful clicks. You tap into a strength you didn't know you had. This process, called shadow integration, isn't quick or easy. It takes patience, honesty, and a deep commitment to self-awareness. But what you get in return is priceless. You get clarity. You start to see through all the illusions. What you used to think was success or happiness starts to look different. You find purpose. That feeling of drifting aimlessly, gone. You experience peace. A deep, steady peace that isn't rocked by whatever chaos is happening around you. You gain the ability to say no without guilt, without fear, without second guessing. You stop worrying about judgment because you're finally at peace with who you are. And most importantly, you gain the freedom to be your truest self. Now, you might be wondering, okay, where do I even start? The answer is simpler than you think. Start listening to yourself. The next time you feel anxious, uncertain, or overwhelmed, pause. Ask yourself, what is my inner voice trying to tell me right now? Jung once said that the answers we search for out in the world, they're already within us. We just have to be brave enough to listen and then act. One of the hardest things to do is trust your intuition, especially when it's pointing you towards something uncomfortable. Maybe it's a relationship that you know deep down isn't right, or a job that's draining you, or a dream you're chasing just because you thought it was what you should do. Ignoring those signals isn't strength. It's denying who you are. Choosing yourself takes real courage. It means letting go of what no longer fits. And yeah, it's scary. We hang on to the familiar because, well, it's familiar, even if it's hurting us. You've heard the saying, better the devil you know. But Jung challenges us to see change differently, not as an end, but as a doorway, a step toward who you really are. So think about it. What are you still holding onto that no longer serves you? What beliefs, habits, or relationships are you keeping out of fear? Letting go might feel like loss, but the real loss that happens when you give up your peace, your joy, your purpose, just to keep holding on to something that's already run its course. The choice is always yours. Ask yourself, am I ready to finally choose me? Choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's one of the most loving, respectful things you can do for yourself and for everyone around you. For too long, society has taught us that putting yourself first is wrong, that it's selfish, that it means you don't care about others. But the truth is the exact opposite. When you finally make the conscious decision to choose yourself, something magical happens. It's like the fog lifts, and you start to see clearly again. The people who truly love and support you, they stay. And the ones who were only there to take, they quietly drift away. That's not a coincidence. It's a reflection of the shift that's happening inside of you. Jung called this synchronicity. Those uncanny moments when your thoughts, your emotions, and your experiences line up. When your outer world mirrors the work you're doing on the inside. When you live in alignment with your truth, life responds. But to that thing, you've got to be radically honest with yourself. Choosing yourself isn't just about setting boundaries or making bold moves. Sometimes, it's about looking in the mirror and admitting the hard stuff. Maybe you've made choices that weren't true to who you really are. Maybe you've let people step all over your boundaries. Maybe you've said yes too often, when deep down you really wanted to say no. But here's what's important. This isn't about beating yourself up. It's about learning. It's about owning your truth so you can do better moving forward. Jung believes that authenticity isn't a destination. It's a journey. It's not something you achieve once and check off the list. It's something you build step by step. And on that path, there will be resistance. You'll doubt yourself. Old habits will try to pull you back. And the familiar, even when it's painful, will seem oddly comforting. But remember this, real growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. The biggest breakthroughs, they come when you step into the unknown. When you stop clinging to what feels safe and start moving toward what feels right. And here's the truth. Not everyone is going to understand your decision to choose yourself. Some people will criticize you. Some will pull away. Some might even try to make you feel guilty for putting yourself first. That's hard. Especially if you're someone who's used to being the peacemaker, the helper, the one who never says no. But when you choose yourself, you stop needing validation from others. You stop measuring your worth based on how well you fit into someone else's expectations. That doesn't mean you cut yourself off from everyone. Actually, it's the opposite. You start craving deeper, more meaningful connections. You stop chasing approval and start searching for authenticity. You'll find that your relationships begin to evolve. The people who truly see and appreciate you for who you are, they'll stay. They won't need you to be anything other than your real, unfiltered self. That's the magic of living in truth. When your inner world shifts, your outer world follows. Jung talked about this concept often. He believes that our psyche, the way we think, feel, and believe, actually shapes our external reality. So if you're living in conflict with yourself, you'll attract conflict. If you reject who you are, that rejection shows up in your world over and over. But when you accept yourself fully, when you stand in your truth, the universe meets you then. And yes, it takes time. This isn't a one-and-done thing. It's a process. There will be days when you feel like you're moving backwards. Days when old patterns try to creep back in. But those moments, that's where the real work is done. Your job is to stay the course. To keep choosing yourself, even when it's uncomfortable. Even when it feels like no one else gets it. Because here's something we don't talk about enough. The world celebrates sacrifice. We're taught that giving everything to everyone else, even at the cost of our own well-being, is noble. But what happens when you keep pouring from an empty cup? You burn out. You lose yourself. And suddenly, The version of you that once showed up for others with love and energy, she's gone. All that's left is resentment, exhaustion, and emptiness. That's not noble. That's self-abandonment. Choosing yourself isn't a betrayal. It's a necessity, because only when you fall, when you're grounded and connected to your truth, can you give from a place of wholeness. That's when your love becomes abundant, your energy becomes magnetic, and your presence becomes healing. So yes, dare to choose yourself. Not just once, not just in the big, dramatic moments, but every day, in the smallest decisions, in the quiet boundaries, in the moments when no one else is watching. And watch what happens. Jung had a powerful teaching: we can't give what we don't have. If you sacrifice your joy, your energy, your peace, what's left to offer? Eventually, that imbalance shows up in your life, turns into emotional burnout, frustration, even physical symptoms. So ask yourself, who or what in your life drains you? Look at your relationships, your job, your habits. Be honest. Which ones lift you up, make you feel seen, make you feel inspired? And which ones leave you feeling tired, confused, that you're constantly giving and never receiving? These are not random patterns. They're mirrors. They reflect what's going on inside you. If you're letting people cross your boundaries over and over, it might not be because they're toxic. Could be because a part of you hasn't yet learned how to stand up for yourself. That's okay, but it's time to learn. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's self-love in action. And yes, it might feel awkward at first, but with time it gets easier. And the more you practice, the stronger your sense of self becomes. Jung believed that our unconscious mind is always trying to lead us toward healing. It sends signals: exhaustion, irritation, anxiety. These are clues, warnings, messages from within, telling you that something or someone isn't aligned with who you really are. If you ignore those messages long enough, the price is always the same: your peace. Choosing yourself means honoring those signals, setting boundaries not as walls to shut people out, but as bridges to healthier, more honest relationships. When you say no to what doesn't serve you, you're also saying yes to your own truth, your well-being, your growth. This doesn't mean cutting everyone off or living in isolation. It just means being real with yourself about what fills you and what drains you. And when you start living from that place, something incredible happens. Your intuition sharpens. That quiet voice inside, the one that once felt so faint, starts getting louder, clearer, more confident. You begin making decisions that aren't just logical, they feel right. Deep down, you know they're aligned. That's the power of choosing yourself. It reconnects you with your inner compass. Jung called intuition one of the purest connections to the unconscious. It's not based on facts or evidence. It's a knowing, a gut feeling, a sense that something is either meant for you or not. But here's the catch. To hear it, you have to silence the noise. That means letting go of the need for approval, the pressure to conform, the fear of disappointing people. Because no one, no matter how close they are to you, can truly know what's best for you, better than you. When you decide to finally choose yourself, you're sending a powerful signal out into the world. I'm ready to live in alignment with who I really am. And the universe listens. Suddenly, you start attracting the right people, the right opportunities, the right experiences. That doesn't mean everything gets easy. Life still throws curveballs. But now, those challenges don't feel like soul-crushing obstacles. They feel like steps, like initiations, like growth. That's when you start experiencing what Jung called synchronicity. You know those moments that feel too perfect to be random? The right book at the right time. A conversation that answers a question you never even voiced out loud. A person who shows up just when you're about to give up. That's not coincidence. That's alignment. When your inner world is aligned, your outer world starts reflecting it. Things fall into place, doors open, and life starts to flow. That's the beauty of choosing yourself. It doesn't just change you, it transforms the world around you. And in that space where your inner and outer worlds align, you'll find something most people spend their entire lives searching for. Peace. Not the kind that comes from everything going perfectly, but a deep, quiet peace that comes from being exactly who you are. No more pretending, no more chasing, just you. When you finally choose yourself, everything starts to make sense. Opportunities that once felt out of reach suddenly show up. The people who are meant for you find you. Life begins to flow, not without challenge, but with clarity and purpose. But here's the thing, the moment you decide to choose yourself is also when resistance shows up. You'll feel the old pressures creeping back in, the expectations, the doubt, that voice in your head whispering, "Who do you think you are to live life on your terms?" You might feel pushed to shrink back, to go back to the roles and routines that once made you feel safe, even if they were slowly draining the life out of you. But this is your turning point. This is where your power truly lies. Every time you feel that tug to return to who you were, before the awareness, before the clarity, you have a choice. You can choose what's familiar, or you can choose you. Jung said that resistance is a sign you're on the right path. It's the friction between your past and your future. It's your old self wrestling with the new version that's trying to emerge. And here's how you move through that resistance. With reflection. Ask yourself, what do I truly value? What kind of life do I actually want to live? What brings me meaning, peace, and joy? When you get clear on those answers, decisions become easier. You stop operating on autopilot and start living with intention. And the more you do that, the more your outer world begins to reflect your inner truth. And no, you're not alone in this. Choosing yourself might feel isolating at first, especially if the people around you are used to the version of you that constantly bends, conforms, and says yes. But the more you walk this path, the more you'll naturally attract people who get it. People who are walking the same path. People who see you not as who they want you to be, but as you actually are. And something in you shifts. You stop chasing. You stop proving. You stop apologizing for existing. Life stops feeling like a constant uphill battle and starts feeling like a homecoming. Jung taught that true peace doesn't come from external success. It comes from within. It's the result of living in alignment with your values, your truth, and your essence. And when you do that, you radiate something powerful. You become a light in the dark. An example that others can look to and think, if they can do it, maybe I can too. That's how this journey becomes bigger than just you. When you choose yourself, you become a catalyst. A quiet revolution. Not by shouting, not by preaching, but by simply living your truth. You give others permission to do the same. Think about it. What would your life look like if you released everything that no longer serves you? What would it feel like to walk away from the relationships that drain you? The commitments that don't align with your soul? The expectations that were never really yours to begin with? That vision of your life is not some far-off fantasy. It's real. It's possible. And it's waiting for you. But you have to make space for it. You have to let go of what doesn't belong to make room for what does. And when you do, you won't feel empty, you'll feel light, clear, free. That's the transformation Jung wanted all of us to experience. The realization that what we've been searching for out there, in jobs, in relationships, in approval, has always been within us. That's the moment everything changes. That's when you feel alive again. No longer shackled by who others want you to be. No longer defined by society's rigid rules about success or happiness. Instead, you become rooted in something deeper. That inner voice, the one that's been whispering to you all along, gets louder. It becomes your guide. And that feeling, that's freedom. But let's be honest, freedom takes guts. Takes courage to break away from the noise, to face the fear, to confront the doubts and limiting beliefs you've carried for years. Jung reminded us that our greatest enemy is usually inside us. It's not the world, not other people. It's the voice that says, you're not good enough, you'll fail, or you'll be alone. But that voice is not the truth. It's a leftover echo from your past. A reflection of old pain, old patterns, old conditioning. And every time you challenge that voice, every time you act anyway, you take back your power. That's what choosing yourself really means. It's breaking the chains that have held you back, so you can finally walk your own path. And when you do, things start to fall away. The need to prove, to impress, to compete, to fit in, gone. Instead, you begin to thrive in your own authenticity. And that's where your real power lies, not in controlling others, not in being the loudest or the strongest, but in being aligned with who you are. That alignment is quiet, but it's unstoppable. Because when you stand in your truth, no one and nothing can knock you off your path. And here's the most beautiful part. It's not just your life that changes. You become a force, presence. Just by being real, you inspire others. You don't need to convince anyone. Your energy does the work for you. You lead by example. And that's what Jung meant by collective transformation. When one person wakes up, they light the way for others. When you choose authenticity, your relationships evolve. Your community grows stronger. The world itself begins to shift. But don't get it twisted, this path isn't always linear. It's messy. There will be highs and lows. Days where you feel unshakable. And days where doubt creeps in again. That's normal. Jung saw these low points not as failures but as invitations. Every moment of doubt is a chance to reconnect with yourself, to go deeper, to realign. Every challenge is a portal to growth. And in those uncertain moments, just remember, you're not doing this alone. The more you say yes to who you are, the more the right people, the right support, the right tools will show up. The path might start off lonely, but over time it becomes home. Sometimes it's a book. Sometimes a random conversation. Sometimes it's a video like this one showing up at just the right moment. That's not coincidence. That's synchronicity. All of it, every choice, every challenge has led you here, right now, to this moment. And while the future might still be unclear, one thing is for sure. As long as you keep choosing yourself, you're building a life that's truly worth living. So let me ask you, who are you when no one's watching? What parts of yourself have you buried just to fit in? What would your life look like if you stopped chasing validation and started living your truth? The truth is, you already have everything you need. You just need the courage to trust it, to listen to it, and to act on it. So take that step. Start small if you have to, but start. Because every choice you make in alignment with your true self is a win. And you're not alone in this. This space, this community, is here to remind you of your power, your worth, your potential. If this message resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs it, someone who might be stuck, someone who needs this exact moment of clarity. Every share, every comment, every conversation, it creates ripples. Imagine what we could do together as a community of people committed to living fully, courageously, and authentically. Now it's your turn. Drop a comment. Let me know what part of this spoke to you. What step are you ready to take today to choose yourself? Because when you sing, you don't just empower yourself, you empower everyone reading along. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss another moment like this. Together, we're building something powerful. A movement of authenticity. A journey toward wholeness. A reminder that the greatest act of courage is simply this: to choose yourself. Always. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. And more than anything, thank you for choosing to be you. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care and keep walking your path. The world needs more of you.